Hello, this is Luann Johnson here to compare Agile and Waterfall and the processes and guidelines that define them. The rise of technology and its growing necessity has changed the way software is developed and managed. The traditional plan-driven lifecycle model, like Waterfall, has given way to a more flexible, iterative model known as Agile. More and more organizations are finding this approach to software development a necessity. The following slides will address why this necessity exists, as well as define and compare the processes and guidelines of Agile and Waterfall methodologies. What is Waterfall? Well, Waterfall is the oldest model or the traditional way for developing software. It is called Waterfall because the model begins at the top with requirements and flows downward through various phases, finishing with implementation in a live environment. It is simple and easy to use. One phase is completed at a time, and it works well with small projects. However, the thing about Waterfall, and as you look at the model to the right, displaying it, it is what you would consider a more rigid approach to software development. And that is why a more agile approach is being recommended today from more and more organizations. Here you see the waterfall process with a list of its phases or steps downward. Requirements is the first, then analysis, design, implementation, testing, deployment, and maintenance. What is Agile? Agile is a more flexible way of developing software. Agile and the Agile Manifesto was written in 2001 by a number of developers, and it's set to liberate developer spirit while better serving the needs of the users. The two most important concepts from the Agile Manifesto are: work closely with the customer to deliver exactly what they need, and two, ensure that developers can work happily and productively. Some of the defining factors about Agile is that Agile methodologies are loosely defined. They are tailored and customized to fit each situation. Agile methodologies have no specification of how everything should be done, so there's no exact science to it, which creates flexibility. Agile is an iterative approach for developing functionality incrementally, and it depends on user feedback and input, active user collaboration, and engagement. Active participation by users in the project as it progresses to provide validation of functionality as it is produced is paramount to the Agile methodology. Just by looking at the figure here, you can see the differences between the Agile process and the waterfall process. We talked about earlier that the waterfall process starts with requirements and cascade down to a series of phases until the project is complete. The Agile process is different. There's constant feedback from the user, and the developers choose the feature that the user that is most important to the user, and they decide on that being the increment one, and then they progress to the next most important feature, which would be increment two, and so on and so forth. Requirements and solutions in Agile evolve in cross-functional teams through collaborative effort. Its approach aligns project and product development with requirements of the customer and overall company goal. This method encourages frequent inspection and adaptation, developed for projects that require flexibility and speed. And we're seeing more and more that companies are looking for flexibility because there's such a demand for technology that they have to have a quick turnaround time to support the needs and demands of the user. Here's an example of Agile system development lifecycle. You have potential projects. You choose the one that's most important. You get initial funding. You have work items associated with that project. You choose the ones that are the highest priority from that work item list. You have a task to complete those goals that are high priority. Those tasks are completed within the iteration. There are daily stand-up meetings. You share status and you identify potential issues during those meetings. You dissolve those issues and you work through those tasks until the iteration is complete, and then you start your next iteration. If you were to define phases in Agile, and usually use iterations to define the Agile process, but here I will list what would be considered phases in Agile. It's concept, iteration, inception, construction, transition, release, production, and retirement. Comparing Agile and Waterfall. Well, we know that the waterfall methodology is a traditional one, though it is still widely used today. But the difference between Agile and Waterfall are such. In Waterfall, systems are fully specifiable, predictable, and can be built through meticulous and extensive planning. In Agile, high-quality, adaptive software can be developed by small teams using the principles of continuous design improvement and testing based on rapid feedback and change. Waterfall is process-centric and Agile is people-centric. Waterfall's management style is command and control, and Agile's management style is leadership and collaboration. Waterfall is explicit, Agile is tacit. Waterfall, the individual favors specialization, whereas an Agile, self-organizing team encourages role interchangeability. In Waterfall, communication is formal, and in Agile, communication is informal. In Waterfall, customer's role is important. In Agile, customer's role is critical. In Waterfall, project cycle is guided by tasks or activities, and in Agile, project cycle is guided by product features. In Waterfall life cycle model, Waterfall spiral or some variation, desired organizational form structure is mechanistic. In Agile, the evolutionary delivery model, desired organizational form structure is organic. In Waterfall, technology has no restrictions, but in Agile, technology favors object-oriented technology. In conclusion, businesses are finding Agile to be a better means for developing software products because it promotes a fast-paced, flexible way of getting software products to market. The people-centered approach is the best way of determining which features will provide the most value to the customer. Feedback lets the developer know for sure if they have hit the mark, and if not, allows them to work through it until they do. A high level of uncertainty gave way to methodology such as Agile. The Bible says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." Agile is a way to meet customers where they are, to collaborate with stakeholders and team members, to save time and money, and to diversify wisdom to get the most out of software solutions. Waterfall is a natural work pattern for many people. It certainly is for me. Though it has gotten a bad name in recent years, it still has its place in project management. When the level of uncertainty is low, and there is a definitive time constraint, Waterfall is the method that is most beneficial. See to it that no one takes you captive by philosophy and empty deceit, according to human tradition, according to the elemental spirits of the world, and not according to Christ. Thanks for listening.